5 today, a little bit quicker, it said. Now here's the Boilermaker here on the right-hand lane, get working.
And he has left only the 2, luckily, for the young man who has a most unusual step approach on the approach itself, Nelson. It's different.
Short, tight approach, 5-step delivery, stutter step in the first 2 steps, and really a short backswing. It's probably the shortest we have in professional bowling. He hits that line so solid. He accelerates on that pivot step. The 4th step drives through very hard, and he makes it work.
And blows the shot, leaving the 2 pin. So now, both players with open frames. Miller in his second for Bellinger in his very first, followed with a strike.
Jeff has to be somewhat upset at that shot. Just a little pre-shot nerves as he wasn't even close. He's trying to go somewhere around the 2nd arrow and then just have the ball hook across the center of the lane, and he just throws it way too hard. It hangs out to the right, slides by the 2 pin, and let's see if he can recover from that. Sometimes it's really disturbing in the early going.
Then he has left the 3-6 on the left hand. Young man that was on the Purdue University bowling team 2 years. They haven't had high national ranking, but he has done something the Purdue basketball team couldn't do. They tried to get to the Final 4. They didn't, but Jeff Miller has gotten into the Final 5.
As you look at his grip, good point, Chris. It's really, the first couple of frames are difficult. This young man uses his head out there, and he'll recover.
A lot of speed. Marking with a spare in the 3rd frame, and Bellinger is up late by 1 pin. Good study of Miller's face, pondering, wondering what happened. Well, he's handling it well. Now here's the routine. Careful setting. Bellinger, who's been in the finals 2 of the last 3 years here. We asked him earlier why he does so well at red carpet.
Well, I feel this particular bowling center, the carry here has a lot to do with the way you roll the ball. There are a lot of guys that have problems carrying the 10 pins and the 4 pins here, and I feel like my particular role with the ball speed I carry well. And hopefully on the show today, I won't leave any pins like I did against Roth, and I'll still carry a few 10 pins like I didn't carry against Voss, and hopefully I'll win my first game and go on to win the tournament.
And he's speaking of his 2 previous appearances in the championship round on this exact pair, 63 and 64 at red carpet lanes, where he went down to defeat to those 2 players, Voss and Roth. Chance for a double.
I hit on another split, the 4-6-7 for Bellinger. Had an open front in the very first, our first match.
Quickly up, he's just going for 2 pins.
All right. Jeff Bellinger going against Jeff Miller. More after this.
63 and 64 is, the oil pattern is simply this. The oil is real heavy down to a point of about 20 feet. And it's a little lighter down here to about 45 feet, and then dry in this area. But one thing to watch for is the scoring was abnormally low when the lanes were very slick, and right now they're very slick, so it's going to be tough match game play in the early growing, and as the lanes start hooking a little later on the championship run, I think the score really picked up.
Beautiful breaking ball for Jeff Miller, who is from Columbus, Ohio. His parents are here in person watching him, Linda and Jerry Miller. His sister was going to come, but she couldn't, as was his grandmother, Olive, who's a 76-year-old bowler in Columbus, Ohio.
That's a good point, Chris. They came up here. It's not that far a drive. In fact, in the fog up here, it's probably the only way you can get here is the Mitchell Field Airport was closed most of the day. Now, Jeff are recovering after that loss, but we had an official. It was his time out. Let's see if he can extend his lead to 15.
Crossing up his left with 3-10 on the line. There, Mom and Dad, Linda and Jerry.
And Jerry shaking his head as everybody seems to be struggling on both lanes. And what he has to do is get the ball over here next to the 3 pin and have the deflect into the 10. We call that the baby split. Kruk should make that at least 1 out of 2 times. Needs this to maintain the lead.
Third generation of Miller bowlers in Chris. Nope, second open green. Lead he has lost. It's an 8-pin lead for Bellinger. Try to connect after an open frame.
Once again, the championship here, I showed you the oil pattern, but the grit wood comes through on this pair. In the right-hand lane, 64 hooks 3 boards less than 63. The right-handed players, our leader, Steve Kruk, has them the other way around. So training the wood is very important. Let's see what Bellinger does.
Oh, nice action. Striking the 5th for Jeff Bellinger, an accountant major at the University of South Carolina.
The serpentine footwork of Bellinger as he steps across, just like a speed skater going around a turn at overstep, then he step, and then the pro move at the bottom with that wrist. He lofts that ball about 7 feet over the foul line. The first row of dots is 7 feet, and that's really one of the reasons he has so much success in this house. A little bit of extra loft does very well in this bowling center.
With that double here in our very first match, the winner to meet Bob Benoit.
Capacity crowd here at Red Carpet Lane, 62 Lane Center. It's what we call a back-to-back center. As you see the money leaders for 1988, Bob Benoit will be in the next match, leading the pack at 129,000 down to Leto Morley at 43,000. Now Miller trailing by 18. Needs to get something going. 6th frame.
Robbed, leaving a solid lane.
It's a hit that seems to be almost commonplace, Chris. The power bowling balls the players use today. The ball hits the 1-3. It should hit the 5 and then deflect into the 9. Not to, it just hooks right through. Now, normal, as we call it, pin action, that ball should respect the weight of those 3-pound, 7-ounce pins. It does not. The ball just too strong for the pin action.
Good. He made sure all of the ball on that lone pin. Earlier, we asked him why he chose a professional course tour of mechanical engineering.
Well, when I graduated in December, off time of the year, and job market was kind of slow, and circumstances just fell into place that I was able to try the tour out. And
Chris, somewhat the same situation. I started the tour in 1965, and when ABC's putting up a lot of money and the tour is rich at this time, it's a good time to start.
And it's a good time to start for Jeff Miller striking because he's behind by 18 pins. We'll be back. Like that. 3 in a row now and a 28-pin lead.
Bellinger, just a determined 34-year-old, has paid his dues out here on the professional tour, has one victory to his credit. He's the roommate of Tom Milton, who won earlier in Florida this year, and Tom was rooting for him last night. As you see the low angle trajectory of Jeff Bellinger's ball. Ball hits the 1, 3, 5, and deflects into the 9 pin. Now 28-pin lead, 3 strikes in a row, 8th frame can extend to 38.
No ball, don't do it.
Oh, begging the ball to do what it did. Corner of 215-pounder from Columbia, South Carolina.
What he was begging was, don't go high, don't go high. Jeff pulled the ball a little bit at the loose point, but that tremendous loft that he had, about 7 feet over the foul line, let the ball, what we call, hold back. It made the difference between maybe a 4-pin and a strike. It's really put Jeff Miller in a lot of trouble. Jeff has to throw some right here.
That gives him a double. Strikes in the 7th and 8th. I could cut it to 18 with a strike on the left lane where he's had problems.
Jeff Miller, only the second rapid player or pro tour qualifier player on that bowls on Monday to qualify for the regular tournament to make it to the championship round. He led the Rabbit squad on Monday. Here he is bowling the first match. The other player to do that was Randy Peterson, the AC Delta in 1986. He went on to win the tournament. Must strike for Jeff Miller.
the 10-pin on that pesky left lane for Miller of Columbus, Ohio.
Jeff rolls the big hook ball for a strike ball as he looks a little bit down, a little disconsolate his situation right now. The best he can do is 195. Jeff Bellinger going at a strong 214 pace, so barring a miracle, Bellinger will go on to meet Bob Benoit.
Jeff Miller will be back. Takes a while for maturity on the tour, any sport.
Well, I agree with that, Chris. You know, really the first 3 frames before we had the commercial break that were the undoing of Miller. Once we had a little time out there, he has been real strong. Every shot's rolled in the last 5 frames, so I'm sure he'll analyze what happened here today and make that work to his advantage next time.
Left only the 5-pin, and Bellinger is one of those that says he talks to other people, but it's really talking to himself. Loud enough, though, that you often can hear what he has to say. There he was with the resin bag over the thumb hole, patting it and wiping it off, and now ready. .73 through the 8th for Bellinger. Spare up.
Jeff, who used to be always a great strike bowler, used to be an erratic spare shooter, made some major changes that are good for anyone who throws the big, powerful hook to make. And that's simply break that wrist back, roll the ball end over end, a little bit like we show you in the grip. How to change your shot from the big crank ball today to the straight shot, and it's made him a better player.
So with a 4, 6, 7, certainly coming at the right time for the winner, Bellinger. So he will move on against the 300 shooter, Bob Benoit. We'll be back. A professional bowler shot of 185. Well, a new role for my colleague, Nelson Burton Jr. Watch and listen.
While we're in Milwaukee, Wisconsin for the PBA Championships, we thought you'd like to take a trip back in bowling time. Back to the days of the pinball. And Lincoln Avenue in the greater Milwaukee area, located Gene and Marcy's Holler House. This is an active bowling and fun center. Holler House is the oldest certified bowling center in the nation, a place where the pin boy is not a lost art. One of the first things you learn as a boy is safety. You have to get out of the way of the ball. The prize swing is speed, though. Get the ball back to the people as quickly as possible, because you're working for only 10 cents a game, and that's a lot of money at the time. If the people didn't bowl quick enough, take a pin out. Hang it on the rack a little bit. They get the message. And the way to keep from getting cheated while they're bowling is count the frames. A good pin boy will count every single frame the team or individual bowled to make sure they didn't bowl any extra frames. At 10 cents a line, that's a lot of money. It'll work.
The automatic pen setter here at the red carpet lanes. Well, I have a feeling you're at the new office, Holler House in Milwaukee.
Well, my dad started me some pins, Chris, in 1951-52. I did for 5 years at our own establishment and set many thousands of games. One little point, though, there's only 10 pins when you have the pin away, and we use 21 for the championship round. And the Bellinger is getting ready to attack, 10 that are waiting, and 1 extra just in case. Now, second.
I like that one. I hit leaving the 16 for a man that shot 138 in his victory over Jeff Miller of Columbus, Ohio. Jeff will have made $7,000 this week, finishing 5th. Bellinger for the 610. He goes against Bob Benoit, first on television. Okay, well done in the first frame for Bellinger. Now, from Topeka, Kansas, formerly a resident of Dallas, and he did so well in his very first PBA championship round. tossing a perfect 300 game to Mark Woods, 255. It was his first shot in Milwaukee. Average 232 on this championship pair. He crossed it twice during the competition, so though he's still perfect on television.
No doubt, Chris, but now he's up to that unlucky 13 strikes in a row. As you look at the delivery of Bob Benoit, that cupped wrist, he just about lays it back on his hand. In fact, he almost doesn't need his thumb in the ball. Just uses it for guidance, lifts straight through, and he just has really such a super nice style. And with today's European finishes in bowling, it's just accentuated with that big hook, going for a double.
And in this game, it's all over for a perfect game. But, well, how do we shoot this pair, Nelson?
One of the tough pairs, Chris, the 3, 6, 9, 10. And other than the 2, 4, 5, and 8 pair for professional bowlers and amateurs, a lot for that part of it. You have to go down the right side, make the ball carries out the back 9 pin without chopping off the 3 and 6. Here's Benoit.
And just what you said.
Well, I didn't like the angle he took, Chris. We were talking about going down the right side, and Bob Benoit took more of a conventional angle, the cross lane, but always the danger of leaving the 9 pin forced him to hook the ball too much, and he chopped it off, giving a major opening to Bellinger right here in the first frame.
Bellinger with a spread. Second frame now. Just like that. Little movement. Backward movement for Bellinger. Here it is again.
Jeff Bellinger, watch the power of his bowling ball. The ball should not ever have a chance of leaving a solid 9 on this. The ball hits the 1-3 and never, ever deflects at all. Almost leaves a solid 9 again. Chris, I'm not too puristic totally about this game, and I'm all for modern equipment. But the bowling balls today are something. It's just way too strong for the pins. That's, to me, really uncharacteristic pin action from the design of the game.
Okay.
Now, Bellinger up third frame.
Good point. That time, attention on the left lane for Bellinger. Still talking. Here's the routine. Usually does 5 little puffs in the bag. I told you he was speeding things up here today.
You look at his grip, extends that index finger. He'll kill this shot. He'll break the wrist back, throw it a little harder, let that ball slide across lane.
Okay, now back to Bob Benoit. To his perfect game victory and the Quaker State title at the Forum Bowl in Grand Prairie, Texas. He had a spotty career. He started out spotty here, although he opened with a strike. Open frame in the second. Here's the third. Just like Grand Prairie, just perfect hit in the pocket.
You're right, Chris. That's the shot that we saw 12 times. You watch the arms. The key is this: does he keep it close to his body? There he brings it back. He brings it out a little bit to the right, then realigns at the top of his swing. Perfect right there, right next to his left leg. Follows through, plays just around the second arrow, and the result, 10 in the pit. Once again, the left-hand lane seems to be giving most of the players the trouble. It's the one that hooks the most, and let's see if he can make the adjustment. He's playing deep inside line, inside the third arrow.
A high hit and a 4-7, and the head shake. We cannot blame him one bit.
Bob Benoit must go for this spare. It's a very difficult spot. Get the ball to the left of the 4-pin, slide it over into the 10-pin. Be interesting to see if he plays the big hook on the shot. I wouldn't play it at all and throw it hard and straight.
All right, got 2 of the pins in our second match in the Milwaukee Championship. 39,000 to the winner. We'll be back in the 5th. A high hit, and look at that, 3, 4, 6, 10.
As I said earlier, when the lanes are a little slick, a little tight, the players are having all sorts of trouble. For Benoit, he leaves the 3 for 6-10, a very makeable split. Needs to get the ball over here by the 3, slide in the 4, and the ball will take out the 6 and 10 pins. If he doesn't make this split right here, he's in major trouble, trailing to more than 40 pins.
And now it's his second up and frame in 5. He went from 62 through 5th. Maybe he'll have some luck beginning on the left lane here. He's 5'9", 135 pounds. His opponent, 215 pounds. So he has a 10 pin and totally confused. You can see the deepening of the furrows in his brow.
No doubt. He's playing the 3rd arrow on the left-hand lane. He's in the right zone. He's made shots that are not up to his standards. He throws the ball a little bit hard once and a little bit off the next, pulls one. So just kind of an off day, but he's still in cover with a big strength.
And that won 3 regional titles in 1987 prior to coming to Jeannie Holtze's Forum Bowl to shoot the perfect game. Here are the averages for 1988.
A little bit higher than I've seen in years past. The old record held by Mark Roth in the 220s, but the other players on the 5th place, Tom Kreitz at better than 216, is one of the highest 5th place averages at this point of the year that I've seen in quite a few years. So averages are up, scores are up. Now Bellinger, 48-pin lead, strikes in a row working.
10 pin on the right lane for Bellinger. You saw Pete Weber up there high on the averages. He finished 52nd. Monticello 49th this week.
Watch the loft of Bellinger. He rolls that wrist under the ball. Look at the ball. He sends it up airborne about 7 feet over the foul line. And the reason that works so well in this house, the bowling ball on many of the lanes here has a tendency to bounce in the first 2 feet right past the foul line. He just throws it over the area.
Bowen run down beyond the top 24. I noticed you were 39th. You had a good day and 23 straight years here.
23 straight years is right. This championship has always been good to me. I've had the fortune of 1972, so it's been a few years since then. As you see, Jeff Bellinger, urethane bowling ball, finger grips, finger grip, spread that index finger, tuck that pinky. Watch the bowling tip of the week this week. It involves exactly what Bellinger's doing. He leads by 47.
Action on the pins, taking out the 5. Strike the 7th for Bellinger as he goes against Bob Benoit. Frame left the 2-10 up to 2, another open. And here on the left lane he has a 3-6-8 frame. There for Bob, trailing by 6 pins against Jeff Bellinger, who won the first match here today against Jeff Miller, 198 to 185. The winner of this match will have to bowl Dave Houston of Milwaukee, Oregon. Another 10 in the right lane for Bellinger.
The one problem that many players have had in this bowling set is strictly that, solid 10s. You can hit the pocket. The ability to carry the 10 pin consistently is just reserved for a few people.
For a moment he thought he was going to miss the 10. Something we didn't want to miss today. Elaine Hagan, representing the Bowling Writers Association, presenting a trophy, a $2,500 scholarship award for male and female collegiate bowlers of the year. Here is Chris Lyell, a freshman at William Patterson College in Wayne, New Jersey. The lady winner from Penn State, Jackie Sellers, couldn't make it in because of the foggy flying conditions. Practice in 10-pin shootings, but we do have a win. His second win here in as many matches. Dave Houston will be Bellinger's next opponent. Next over Jeff Miller, 207 to Bob Benoit's 168. 5 strikes for each professional. Now we go into the third, the semifinal before the championship game against the tournament leader Steve Cook. And 28-year-old Dave Houston of Milwaukee, Oregon is the opponent. 5 titles in a 10-year career. Former U.S. Open champion, won it in Houston in 1982, and Bellinger, in his 12 television finals, has had great success. Not winning success there at Red Carpet, but he has been the 4th seed 3 of the last 4 years here in Milwaukee. Now he's at the semifinal game. Shot 1. Oh, he's going to get a lot of pin practice today.
For a little bit, Chris, but this is the transition game. As I spoke earlier, these lanes seem to score much better when they call it on a Pro Tour. Open up. That's hook a little bit more. You saw Bellinger's ball almost hook back solid to the pocket. I'd say in another 5 minutes or so, the lanes are going to open up and the scores will really start escalating.
Spare for Bellinger, first frame. Now, stepping up, Dave Houston. 5 titles, and in 2 years gone over the 100,000 plus in earnings. Last 65 up to this year, this point 18,000. Leaving the 2-5 on his first shot.
Pretty good shot by Dave Houston. The thing you watch with his style is if he comes all the way through with his arm swing as he does on this shot, 5-step delivery, has that high-profile arm swing right in line with the target, wrist nice and flat. I like that, under control. Now watch his follow-through. Comes all the way through. He just didn't play the line properly on that shot, but if he continues to make good swings like that, he's going to score big.
25th television appearance for Student Dude. Last year was on our telecast 3 times. Just 5th twice and 3rd once. So he's in need of a win.
The PBA Tour choir boy, as he's affably nicknamed out here, once sang a cappella for high school band, the high school choral.
He'll hum on that one. 4-pin at the last moment.
It's into the sideboard. That's the 3rd pin on the left-hand part of the screen. Goes the sideboard twist between 4 and 7 pins. Great shot for David Houston. Now Bellinger has both lanes well figured out after 2 victories. Should be able to throw almost every ball in the pocket.
So we are dead even after 2 frames in our 3rd match of the afternoon. The winner to meet left-hander, huge Steve Cook of California. Challenge of the Chickens, presented by Minolta. Look at that matchup. Martina Navratilova and Billie Jean King pairing to go against Chris Evert and Pam Shriver. And then professional boxing, Virgil Hill did the fight when he won his championship. It's his 2nd title defense. Plus, Mutual of Omaha's Spirit of Adventure. Twilight of the Gorilla, it's a return, and we're happy for that.
All tomorrow on ABC. Now Bellinger for a double.
Can you believe Jeff looking at the line? The pin comes rolling, takes out the 10.
Watch the action, head pin, as you see Jeff Bellinger come in light. Here the head pin comes to the sideboard and comes all the way across, knocks out the 10 for a strike. I said the lanes are opening up. This is what we mean. More swing area, more pin action. There's the head pin, it's lost. It's going to come around.
Well, you never said you didn't have to have some luck in life.
That's for sure.
And now here's Houston strike up. Dave and needs it. Just didn't come up, leaving 2-4-10. Tough shot.
The right-hand lane giving David Houston trouble here early. He slides by both times. 2-4-10, needs to slide the 2-pin into the 10-pin to just stay close to Jeff Bellinger, a shot that David Houston can make.
So it's an open frame. Earlier we talked to David about his relationship with his dad.
Well, my father and I like to play a lot of golf together. When we have the chance in Oregon, we also like the outdoors. We like to do a little salmon fishing and also do a little bird hunting in the fall.
Okay, all in Oregon. You notice how he pronounced that state's name? Properly. Oh, a 10-pin also now for Houston on that left lane.
David seems to have trouble with the left lane. He's lined up, and he can hit the right lane also. So I think unless Bellinger gets out to a big lead, David Houston will really give him a run for the money at the end of the match.
All right, a spare. 22 pins separating these two pros. That's the way we see the championship pair. You see the red-shirted Jeff Bellinger, who's won our first two matches here at Red Carpet Lanes in Milwaukee. And he has a lead of 22 pins with double working, shooting in the fourth. Now, Jeff will do this every now and then. Doesn't mind stepping off the approach and recollecting, I guess you'd call it.
Well, the feel of the ball, and most importantly, the thumb hole is so important to any pro bowler. And Jeff didn't have the right feel, made the smart move, step back. He has a commanding lead. He'd like to extend it over a very tough, dangerous David Houston.
No, he wanted it to hook back in. It just did.
By far the worst shot that Jeff Bellinger has rolled so far today. He pulls up at the foul line and just never gives the ball any leverage. You must stay underneath the bowling ball to get leverage. Now watch him here. Now crouch. Now look at raise up. See him standing almost stiff-legged as he lets it go. He knows it's quit. He wants it to stay the right. If it hooks a little bit, he gets a washout split or a spare to shoot at. Instead, he leaves a 1, 2, 4, and 8. A little bit easier spare. Has to get the ball to the left side of the head pin.
Oh, yeah. A little tentative, but it worked. Spare in the fourth for Bellinger.
So far, April 2nd has been a lucky day for Jeff Bellinger in his life, Chris. And April 2nd, 1977, in the National Collegiate Championships, he rolled a 300 game. So far, he is undefeated today in the Milwaukee Championships. As you see the Lockridge Knight fight coming up, Chris, I'll pick a favorite. I like Knight. And
Okay.
then again, I'm sure you're up to date on the amateur championships that lead up to the Olympics.
Mm-hmm. That kind of strike. Perfect. Harold Knight, the opponent in that bout. Bo is undefeated. 15 knockouts. Love those punchers, but Lockridge can punch too. Has 35 knockouts.
Should be a good one. Now, Houston, a little time to collect his thoughts, make the adjustment on the right lane. Let's give Bellinger a run for his money.
All right, 2/3 of a bucket, or 3/4, I should say. 2-4-5.
David slides by, and you can see he uses much more of a straight trajectory towards the pocket as any of the other four players. He's the only, what I would say, non-cranker in the field. Houston by no means throws straight, but he doesn't throw the big bender.
Oh. Chopping the 2 and 5. Leaving the 4, and just a wry smile on the face of this pleasant 28-year-old.
A surprised look on his face. He wants that ball to bite on the lane hook. Bite, keep sliding. It's like the lane is only 57 feet long instead of 60 feet long. Houston with open frame has really dug himself a hole. Needs to throw all strikes.
So now he will have to cover the 5 pin on the left lane now. At the top, we talked about the offices in this state. Well, today, the bowling has been so strange, so different, that they haven't had much opportunity to react like they usually do.
True. The audience needs to go get momentum along with the players. Nobody's established any momentum.
Jeff, in the previous game, and victory over Bob Benoit, strung 4. He's had a double here in this match, but he has a strike up now, shooting in the 6th frame, and a troubled David Houston sits and waits. And a 2 would come up.
Well, the right-hand lane seems like it's getting slicker and slicker. Less surface friction. The ball just slides by. Normally a big hook by Bellinger. He has trouble. And this, as we've seen, all the spares on the left-hand side have been through today. Saw David Houston slide by the 2, 4, and 5. Nobody's made the 2-10 split, which usually the pros give a good run at. And Bellinger has left himself on these lane conditions a tough spare here, the 2, 5, and 8.
Getting picked up now, beginning to get with this semifinal game. The one will meet Steve Cook, who's won 12 titles.
Before we went on the air, Jeff asked me to say a little hi to his daughter, Kimberly Ann. So, Kimberly, in Columbia, South Carolina. So my voice says hi from your dad. Now, your daddy also has a 32-pin lead through 6th frame, 7th frame up. A very tough man right there, former U.S. Open champion David Houston, contemplating his next move.
Be there, Jeff!
Powerful strike, 215-pound Jeff Bellinger. More of both of them after this. Steve Cook, tournament leader, waiting for the winner of the game, now underway. That's southpaw.
Finished last night, Chris, in the last 4 games, 256, 266, 279, 279. So if the action is going to pick up at all, it's going to start right now here with Houston in the Bellinger match because they got tough enough for Steve Cook.
Come on, Dave!
David Houston with only his second strike of the match. Prior to that strike, our average for all bowling here on our telecast was 189.
Watch the angle of attack at Houston. He's playing out by the first arrow on the right-hand lane, and I really favor his type of shot, the outside line on this particular lane. You see Houston coming through, the ball going between the first and second arrows, and the left-hand lane, he should be around the 3rd arrow.
Okay. So this week, the National Bowling Council, after a survey, discovered that 68 million people bowl every year, 11 times per year.
Wow, that's a lot, and I'm sure that's just the United States, as this is
yes.
a international sport with professional bowling tours in Japan. They have a semblance of the Pro Bowlers Tour in Europe, and the Latin American countries also have some sort of competition year-round.
And the demographics, 33% men, 38% women, 28% 5-year-olds to 17-year-olds.
Good balance. Now Bellinger like to balance out his strikeability on this pair of lanes, and he does.
So it's the second double of his semifinal game, shooting for 3rd victory.
Jeff is often known as an erratic player. He once bowled in League 127. A little bad. 300. Came back with 179. Average of 202. Just a little bit different way to get it. A 600 series without a 200 game. Right now he'd like to string out some of those strikes. He has a possible 246.
Intensity now building up in this man from Columbia, South Carolina.
Now you watch the trajectory of Jeff Bellinger. He's playing the left-hand lane absolutely perfect. Just over the 3rd arrow. Gets a lot of turn on the ball. The lanes are drawing out. Now you can see the top weight take over, and he rips those pins out of there.
A 3-bagger for David Houston. Now the crowd's beginning to get with it, because strike is the ultimate thing in bowling. And, Bo, we mentioned the 69 million that bowl a year. Well, there are 7 women's bowling associations in the state of Maine that are having their 21st annual tournament, and they asked me to wish them good luck.
Well, I'm sure that...
Why not?
I agree that hope they do very well in the tournament. They all catch winners, but if you're bowling, you got to have a lot of fun. Houston, if any chance, must strike right here.
2-pin.
Trouble. The best he can do is 193. Jeff Bellinger can get a fantastic 226 pace. It's going to be Bellinger and Cook in the final match, as you see Houston's ball side high on the left-hand lane. He just couldn't put it all together from start to finish today, but this man will be back. Just a likable guy. David Houston is, I'm sure that almost everybody on the tour counts him as a friend. Good all-around athlete, 6 handicap golfer. And I'm sure his family is proud of him all the time. 93.
And a man that puts parties in perspective. He was in the top 24 of last year's Firestone tournament, which meant a shot for the title. His wife, Michelle, was expecting, and he gave the Firestone competition, flew back to Oregon to be there when Corey Allen was born. That shows me class.
Excellent, excellent, excellent thought. Now Bellinger to lock up the match and go against Steve Cook. He's the winner with that shot right there. A possible 225.
All right. 3 victories for the man seated 4th, Jeff Bellinger, professional. National Picture will continue after this message and a word from our local station. Look at that. He has won 3 matches in a row, 6 strikes in his last win over David Houston, 224 to Houston's 193. 161 professionals started here earlier in the week. There were 17 lefties in the field. 5 made the final 24. Bo?
Average game 207, not bad. 217, 211 to cash. 53rd place, Butch Soper, $1,250. Hard charging Ron Bell up there. Tommy Kreitz, as usual. Lefty up there. Tom Hins, Williams, Parker Bone. John Fine, a new local amateur. Lenny Borish finished 12th. Rob Pasteur. Mark Baker, early leader. The big guy, Pensek up there. John Mazda, Rick Steelsmith, Ryan Schaefer. Mazda's partner in the doubles, Harold Sullivan's up there in 19th. Tom Adcock, Joe Merrill, Dave Ferraro, Bill Beach, the senior up there, and Randy Peterson, the acrobatic one, finished 24th.
And now here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, live coverage of the championship match. The 2 bowlers bowling for $59,000, 39 to the winner. And here's the tournament leader, Steve Cook. 36 television appearance in his career, spanning 11 years. 2nd championship round this year.
Power against power. They're the biggest, strongest players on the tour.
Shaky 3 for Steve Cook.
Chris, there's a few always used to use, and it was always an apparent good-looking hit, and those should be strikes when they're like that. The ball just, once again, just overpowers the pins. Unfortunate that anybody has to pay a penalty for a quality strike shot. Cook, easy through to start with, the 9 pin.
Look at the bend in the arc on that shot. Steve Cook of Roseville, California, father of 3, Stacy, Jill, and Kristen, 4 months old. And here is Jeff Bellinger, 1-3, Kimberly Ann. Ian Phillips have 1 child.
He used to be nicknamed Boon Ball Bellinger because of his tremendous hook. He's cut it down some, but it's still a big, powerful ball.
He starts his championship match in grand fashion.
Jeff Bellinger not eligible for the Firestone Tournament of Champions, as you see. The leaders by around 18 games of qualifying. Mark Baker, the early leader. Dave Houston overtook him in the 3rd one. And then Dave maintained that lead to the very last game where Steve Cook shot a 279 to drop David Houston down to 2nd. Now Bellinger has worked his way through the field, winning 3 matches, challenging Cook for the title. And as I said, Bellinger not eligible for the Firestone Tournament Champions. Art Trask, 4-time champion, who hasn't won in a year or so, would be knocked out.
And here now we have a 3, 6, 9, 10 for Bellinger.
We recall how Bob Noy took the 3, 6, 9, 10 and tried to go across lane to make it. I'm not saying it's more difficult to go across lane, but I think it's one of the exceptions to the spare rules. I think Bellinger should play this ball on the right side of around the first arrow. It increases his percentage of making the spare, even though it's more choppable that way. The ball rolls smoother, and you carry out the back 8 pin. Let's see the angle he takes.
Okay. Down on that 1 knee at the line.
Well, he wanted to make sure he carried out the 9. He had the 3, 6 covered perfectly. The key is 9 pin. Perfect shot for Bellinger to start.
This left-hander won 4 titles in 1986, including the United States Open in Venice, Florida. He's had a fine record in the past from the top spot, from where he's bowling today. Well, the left-hand version of the bucket now, 3, 5, 6, 9.
Steve Cook with that 5-step delivery, the tremendously high upright stance. Then he drops that knee down. It's so important for him to get down low on his shot. That high back swing, the long swing, and really a deliberate, long, extended follow-through. He just did not read the lane properly on that shot. Threw it a little bit too hard. Has left himself the 3, 5, 6, 9 second frame.
Steve to get the crowd swing as he did last night when he starts stringing them, because he'll run them out, move around a lot with those big steps that he has. Imagine 11-year career, 12 titles. Consistent except for last year, which was a difficult one for him, winning only 21,815. And this glove.
Baseball glove, Chris, that he feels helps him hold on to the ball. And as you see it there on his left hand, now trails by 4.
6-10.
Look at him staring at that 6-10. It's just, once again, too much ball for the pins. A hit that normally would strike and drive all 10 pins back. The ball doesn't deflect at all. Leaves the 6-10 spare. Where the scores make up with these high-powered bowling balls are the off hits, the shaker hits, the swisher hits, the hits that sometimes you can carry and sometimes you can't carry. So the scores are not as controllable as they used to be.
Continuing to march, Steve Cook of Roseville, California. In Columbia, South Carolina, Bellinger is up with 3 victories coming into this championship game over Jeff Miller, Bob Benoit, and Dave Husted. He has a spare up. He'll be shooting in the 3rd frame. Next week from Baltimore. Yeah, we'll go for the Crab Cakes bow.
That's the place to do it. Well, Bellinger has been obviously the most consistent of the 5 players out there today. He's never really gotten in a lot of trouble, and nobody's really challenged Bellinger, as each opponent has just struggled, not what we call lined up on either one of the championship pair lanes. And with this match game style, Bellinger, maintaining his composure and concentration, has been able to defeat 3 opponents. He now has a 6-pin lead over tournament leader Steve Cook.
Making his best finish here in Milwaukee, 5th in 86, 5th in 85, 13th in last year.
Come on, tap one more time!
Another 10 in the left lane.
Jeff Bellinger actually controlled that ball a little bit. He's a free swinging bowler, and I think with victory not necessarily in sight, because there's still 7 frames left in the game, he kind of aimed that a little bit, didn't get the lift he needed on the ball to carry out the 10, and has left what we call the half 10. Needs this to maintain his 6-pin lead.
Tight battle for the total of $59,000 live here at Red Carpet Lanes.
Okay, honey.
Can you tell who hasn't had their Kellogg's bran flakes?
Hang in there, honey.
Well, some people feel a little sluggish if they're not eating a balanced diet.
39 to the winner, 20 to the runner-up. Steve Cook, the tournament leader, has been waiting all this time as we look at his very wife, Candy. Candy and Tammy. Candy married to Steve Cook. Tammy married to Mike Albee, who has a victory this year, so Steve is trying to match his mother-in-law's performance. 3, 5, 6.
A quizzical look on his face. He says, I put a lot on that ball, and it didn't hook very much. The 3, 5, 6, Chris, as you said. Cook, a fairly good spare shooter, or you don't become a pro champion, but really a strike bowler, has made the first 3 difficult spares he's had. The 9-pin, the 3, 5, 6, 9, the 6, 10 in the 3rd frame, and now the 3, 5, 6 here in the 4th.
Ooh. One of them's going to split any minute. Well, we had a chance to talk to Cook about his new bowling glove.
Well, it's a baseball glove that I actually had to cut out a little bit to have the hand. It's really helped from thumb to finger exit, which has been a big inconsistency in my game. And I really feel like it's helped me get to the #1 spot. Gives me better feel on the fingers and less feel on the thumb, which is important for me.
All right. There he is, putting that gloved fingers into the holes and on the left lane. He says. Strange strike. First of the championship match.
Bellinger, as I mentioned in the fourth frame, when he had a chance to double and take a 19-pin lead, kind of babied the ball or kept it in play. And you know, as our statistician Palmer Fogren mentioned in the little commercial break, is that might not be a bad idea. When the scores are not high, you don't want to defeat yourself. Keep the ball in play. If a player gets ahead of you, by all means, reach back for a little extra, but why beat yourself? Pretty smart move by Bellinger.
Leaving a 10-pin. And of course, Palmer Fogren, the man that won a tournament on television this year.
And averaged 210 this week, but that wasn't enough to get the check, as the scores were once again pretty high on the Pro Bowlers Tour. But there's that protective shot we were talking about. He didn't put all the lift he can put on the ball. Cuts down the rotation a little bit, but doesn't make it as susceptible to sharp breaks or big skids in the lane. Now, he needs this pair to maintain an 8-pin through 5.
Starting from right left, weaving even more as he went to the line. Jeff Bellinger with a spare in the 5th. And immediately following us, it will be Wide World of Sports for the International Boxing Federation Junior Lightweight Championship. Veteran Rocky Lockridge against Harold Knight, and a report on the U.S. Amateur Boxing Championships.
The U.S. Amateur Boxing Championship, Chris, you being one of the most knowledgeable boxing persons I know, can the Americans rebound back and have really a good Olympic team in Seoul, Korea?
I think they have too many young prospects because it's so near to Seoul, Korea. Kelsey Banks, a possibility. Yet he's had his problems this year. And of course, if Cuba does compete in the Summer Olympic Games,
see you later. If you look at the reaction of Jeff Bellinger as he nails this down, he likes it. He can smell victory. He's had the ball around the plate except the one in the second frame. Now, the key for Steve Cook is the right-hand lane. He's been light in the pocket both times. He needs the strike to take the lead. See if he can make the adjustment.
And then a 7.
Well, in bowling parlance, they say the ringing, and that one was really ringing as Steve Cook with his 20-mile-an-hour strike ball hit the 1-2 pocket, drove the 4-pin right over top of the 7, and has left him a spare that sometimes others left-handed bowlers, but not Steve Cook. Watch how he moves to the extreme right-hand part of the lane, carefully counting off the boards right to the last dot, and then kills that big hook by breaking the wrist back and uses that extra speed.
Blew it.
See, I talked him right into that.
What a
My
bad break.
goodness. You know what? He threw a hook ball in that spare, and I've watched all week long. He's been using this different ball, and as you see him, he just knows it's gone when he lets go of it. See his hand. He actually saw his hand come through Director Jim Jeanette's picture there. He turned the ball over. If you saw his hand stay as he normally does, the ball would have slid right back into the 7-pin. Now he trails by 20.
Seven pin left lane.
Well, let's see what Steve Cook has learned by his last previous miss of the 7-pin, the extreme outside line of Steve out by the second board, and now he's switched balls, Chris. This is what he did all week long. He took a ball that he knows will not hook ball, and he's going for 7-pin with this shot. Sure, he'll make it, and he'll wish he had done this in the 6th frame.
All right, Jeff Bellinger, 3 victories from the 4th seeded spot in the field of 5 against Steve Cook, who is disgusting. If he had a pin, I think he could break it in half.
No doubt. And here's another powerful man who really has a chance to let one go. He has a 20-pin lead. Even an open frame would not put him behind in the match. A strike here would give him a commanding lead. So let's see if Jeff Bellinger lets that wrist stand of the ball, rotates that ball real hard, and really attacks the 1-3 pocket.
Trouble for Bellinger, who had games of 198, 207, and keeps increasing with a 224 in his win over Houston.
Now we watch wrist action. Bellinger, steady head, rotates that wrist underneath the ball, stays down with a shot. Now watch his reaction. He knows he really put the putty to this one. 3-pin lead. What do you do? 30-pin lead. Do you attack or do you quit and play? The decision is all Bellinger's.
Great crowd here. Martin Luby Jr., recent Hall of Famer. Looking at Jeff stepped away once again.
Speaking of ABC Hall of Famers, congratulate Barry Asher and Mike McGrath, two of the greatest pros of all time, who will be inducted along with John Jotty into the PBA Hall of Fame at the Firestone Tournament of Champions. Now Bellinger, 30-pin lead, 2 strikes up, can extend to 40, 8th frame.
All deserving nominees. 4.
And he's kind of glad to see that 4-pin. Bellinger said, I want to attack, and then he quit on it a little bit. The ball drifts high, left-hand lane, almost 4-9C. Split. You see the 4-pin, 9 falls a bit later. He's himself an easy spare to maintain the 29-pin lead.
Afternoon for Jeff Bellinger in his 4th match, where as a tournament leader, sometimes to the good, sometimes not so. Steve Cook having his problems here today with a strike up now in the 7th. Needs one here in the 8th. There's his opponent.
Baby.
Baby.
And I'm sure that the ball listened to him as the very determined Steve Cook has come up to the biggest frame for him all week long. If he does not strike here, he makes it almost impossible to win the match. If he does, it's a possible 209. Bellinger going at a 208 pace, so a must shot for Steve Cook, 9th frame.
That's a competitor. Don't win 12 titles without winning one. Randy knows. She's watching that overhead score sheet.
And we've had some very tight matches over the years here at the Milwaukee Championships. I think I had a graphic that I once put together, Chris, about 4 years ago, where most of the matches here, or half of them, were decided by less than 9 pins in the championship match. I still remember Don Janello throwing 2 strikes to defeat Mark Roth in the championship match 2 years ago. So this match is still up for grabs. Bellinger going at a 208 pace, possible 209, 9th frame.
Up to 10. And as I recall, we've had a couple of ties here in roll-ups.
Had a tie that Jeff Bellinger was involved in with Brian Voss. He ultimately lost that match to Voss 40-39 in the PBA's 2-frame sudden death roll-off system. Bellinger is much farther through the field today as he's bowling just 2 frames for the championship.
All right, spare match. Foundation 9. All right, 2 pins. They're battling for 59 grand.
If Jeff Bellinger throws 2 strikes, 1 in the 10th and 1 in the 11th, he shuts out Steve Cook. If he does not, we have a possibility of a tie, a possibility of Cook winning the tournament. Bellinger allowed 3 re-racks in any championship match game. Takes 1 there, I think, just to gather his thoughts, knowing that 2 strikes will lock up the title. If he gets anything left, this man can take it.
Looks away. And Bellinger bowls away.
Come on, Jeff!
High hit, 3-6.
All right, for Jeff Bellinger, it's not absolutely necessary that he makes this 3-6 spare, but it would make Cook get 2 strikes. If he misses it, Cook would need 1 strike.
6 on the left line. really pumped up now.
The count ball in any match is usually pretty important, but in this situation, for every pin that Bellinger gets is put him closer to 205. Cook would need 2 strikes and 7 pins to win. 204.
9 pins and a 204 for Bellinger in his 4th match of the afternoon, trying for his first title since winning in 1906 at the Buffalo Open. Now Steve Cook. Great experience. First title in 1979, the Ford Open in Alameda, California.
Absolutely must strike on the next 2 balls. Anything less, and Bellinger wins.
That's it. The buck, it just wasn't there. 20,000 for Cook, 39,000 for Bellinger from Columbia, South Carolina. He has won the Milwaukee Championship. The Professional Colors Tour is brought to you by Seagram's Coolers. This is where the fun starts. By Tandy Computers, there is no better value. And by Armor All Protectant. It protects and beautifies every time you wash your car. Matches including the championship and $39,000. 204 to 183 coming up next. It's ABC's Wide World of Sports. The kid meets the champ. Junior lightweight title holder Riley Lockridge defends his IBF crown against